Hey everyone, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about fake news because fake news is killing society, and we now actually have a massive study that kind of proves this, and this is absolutely insane. Now, this is coming from The Atlantic, but a lot of people are actually reporting on this. A massive new study from MIT analyzed every major contested news story in English across the entire span of Twitter's existence. This is 126,000 stories they analyzed, tweeted by 3 million users over more than a decade. And the results are rather heartbreaking here. It's insane. They found that the truth simply cannot compete with hoax and rumor. By every common metric, falsehood consistently dominated the truth on Twitter. And if you think it's just bots, stay tuned because they actually address this as well. Now, the study shows that fake news and false rumors reach more people, penetrate deeper into social networks, and spread much faster than actual accurate and truthful stories. Now, the data scientists at MIT who studied fake news since 2013 and led this study, Sarush Vasoji, and I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, said, and I quote, "It seems to be pretty clear from our study that false information outperforms true information, and that is not just because of bots. It might have something to do with human nature." Now, the study was already prompting an alarm from social scientists, and a group of 16 political scientists and legal scholars in an essay this past Thursday published in Science said, and I quote, "We must redesign our information ecosystem for the 21st century. They also call for a new drive of interdisciplinary research to, and I quote, reduce the spread of fake news and to address the underlying pathologies it has revealed. How can we create a new ecosystem that values and promotes truth?" That is an incredibly good question to be asking. Now, this study also suggests that it's not going to be easy to do that. Vasogi and his colleagues only focused on Twitter, but the study they conducted was using exclusive data that basically Twitter made available to MIT, and their work has implications for Facebook, YouTube, and every other major social network that you can think of. This is a prolific and profound problem institutionally in social media as a whole, regardless of platforms. Any platform that regularly amplifies engaging or provocative content runs the risk of amplifying fake news along with it. Consider these statistics from the study. A false story is much more likely to go viral than a real story, according to the authors. A false story reaches 1,500 people 6 times faster on average than a true story does. And while false stories outperform the truth on every subject from business, terrorism and war, science and technology and entertainment, the number one category that consistently outperforms the others is politics. That's even worse because you've got a whole bunch of fake news amplifying everywhere. I literally had that discussion earlier today. Now, Twitter users seem to almost prefer sharing falsehoods, and this is where this is against the bot argument here, because even when researchers controlled for every difference between the accounts originating rumors, like whether that person had more followers or was verified, falsehoods were still 70% more likely to get retweeted than accurate news sources. And as I mentioned before, if you think this is Twitter's AI or just the bots that people can throw up on Twitter to amplify this, think again. Consider this, from 2006 to 2016, Twitter bots amplified true stories as much as they amplified false ones, according to this study. But, and this is the key, fake news prospers because humans, not robots, are likely to spread it. Meaning, the robots, they'll spread whatever you tell them to spread. We see something that is hyperbolic and demonstrably false and think, ooh, I'm going to share this to get likes, to do whatever that is. I think this speaks to a lot of different issues, and this is outside of the research here, to problems. One, I think social media has amplified our vanity. It has also amplified our ability to lose our civility. I like to say Twitter's where civility goes to die. And when you think about those two things, and then you apply it, let's say, to your own worldview and add some confirmation bias in there, then you've got somebody that is willing to dig in on any position, even if it's demonstrably false due to statistics or studies. And then at that point, they're just amplifying it, digging it in, and people like them, which they now can much easily find on like a social media like Twitter or Facebook than they could prior to social media. Now they have reinforcement on top of all of this. This is a huge problem, and we are walking into anything, whether it's an election or, let's say, public opinion on, let's say, foreign policy for your government, whatever that is, that can very genuinely sway elected officials, and not necessarily in a positive way. I recently did a story here on this podcast and video on Saudi Arabia essentially using Twitter and its influence to figure out how to properly govern that country. As you know, they are a monarchy, and so the crown prince basically used Twitter and was able to get into Twitter through cutouts and find dissidents and a whole bunch of other information. But they were also able to take the pulse of the youth in Saudi Arabia and then either give them false information or sway the monarchy to be more favorable to them to maintain their power. These are the kinds of things that we are talking about. But there is demonstrably false information out there. I run into it every single day. As I mentioned, I even had an incident this morning where somebody had posted something that, just doing the math on it, you could see per actual verified FBI statistics, it simply wasn't true. This is what we're talking about here. This is what we need to be combating. I think this is going to take, as these social scientists are worried and concerned, and rightfully so, this is going to take education. We need to have a standard where everybody is educated on the issues, everybody's educated on the actual candidates' positions per an official nonpartisan site that is, let's say, not owned by the government, but basically is ratified by each candidate. And that should be essentially where they are able to post what they think, what they believe, and that has to be fact-checked by third parties, ideally multiple third parties, probably on both sides at this point, because there's just a complete ecosystem that some people are listening to or watching or whatever that is. And if you're not breaking out of that, if you're not reading opposing sides, and again, I don't care what side you're on, I think it happens just across the entire political spectrum, we're going to continue to have this problem. It's going to continue to get worse, and it's going to tear us apart, quite frankly. This is a huge issue. When you have a swath of the population, a large swath of the population that is terrified to have their son or daughter marry somebody from the opposite political party, or thinks that the opposite political party is basically a terrorist or out to destroy the country, and they fear that, that's a huge thing. Because you should be looking at both political parties as having the best interests of the country essentially at hand, even if they have different approaches to solving these solutions. And when we lose that, we lose the ability to have rational discourse, and we have the ability really to elect officials that can speak to that cooperation. So I think these are very important things that we need to deal with and discuss. And so that is your news of the day. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Again, I'm not taking political sides here. I just see it everywhere, and it's a very serious issue. And now we have actual hard evidence, thanks to MIT, that this is going to destroy us if we don't fix it. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we do. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online, and please stay balanced. Thanks, everyone.